Hello and welcome to the World Economic Forum here in Geneva. My name is Adrian Monk. I'll be moderating today's launch of Nature's $10 trillion business opportunity, our Future of Nature and Business report. I'm joined here in the studio by Akanksha Khatri, who's the report's lead author and head of the Nature Agenda work here at the Forum. But also on the line, we have, as you can probably see from your Zoom call, a number of champions who've worked on this report and helped us to shape its development. Perhaps the most striking example of public-private cooperation in this field is Costa Rica. And I'm delighted to say that we're joined at the very start of this by His Excellency Carlos Alvarado Quesada from San Jose in Costa Rica. So, Mr. President, just to introduce our session today, I'm going to hand over to you.
Well, I want to say hi from San Jose, Costa Rica, to all of you on the panel. And I do believe this panel and this forum is very relevant to what's going on today in today's world. Nature and biodiversity have become scarce resources throughout the world and in the economies. And protecting and the conservation of our nature resources, it's not only relevant for the matter of survival of humanity itself, but also of the livelihoods. Whenever I see examples of conservation, of nature-based solutions, you see the possibilities of ecotourism, you see the possibilities of ecosystems regenerating in terms of fisheries, in terms of other livelihoods being able to maintain throughout the time. So more and more, I do believe that nature-based solutions and conservation, it's not only a matter of people being enthusiastic ethically and morally about preservations of species, but also of the preservation of humanity itself. And it appears to be easy to talk about this, to mention this. It appears to be really straightforward reality, but to become that policies and to make that happen and to enforce that in reality, it's completely different. It's very difficult to make that happen. And to share that with policymakers and also with businesses to be part of this is one of the great challenges. This adds up not only with the reality of climate change and the need to decarbonize the whole economy in the world, but now with COVID-19, it presents also a great challenge. I do believe that if we want to build back better, we don't have to look back to after the pandemic to be as a planet as we were on January 2020. We need to look forward to a whole new reality coming out of the pandemic in terms of nature-based solutions, in terms of our relation with nature and biodiversity, and in how business works along with this. As I ending with what I start, nature, biodiversity, it's becoming more and more a scarce resource, and that's why it's becoming more and more valuable for us as humans, in a moral way, in a economic way, and in a way to preserve humanity throughout time. So this discussion in that sense is critical. It's at the core not only of the ongoing business, but also in the core of humanity being in the planning for the next decades. And we hope that's a reality. It's sad that we have to discuss that in those terms, but it's the reality in which we are. I always say this, I have a 7-year-old son, and he is very concerned about what the future is, even though he's 7 years old. That's why this is not just another conversation. This is one of the most critical conversations we need to have as a global community. And I want to also thank and congratulate the World Economic Forum and all members of that have make this report possible, because it's at the core of the future of humanity. So, well, thank you very much, and let's keep on going in this direction, which is the right direction.
Mr. President, thank you for your leadership and for that introduction. And I'm delighted that the Minister of Environment and Energy from Costa Rica, Carlos Manuel Rodriguez, is joining us for the remainder of this call. Before we go and hear from some of our other contributors, I want to turn first to Akanksha Khatri, who is the lead author of the report. Akanksha, can you just talk us through this figure of 10 trillion and the nearly 400 million jobs that your report identifies as potential gains from rebuilding the economy with green goals in mind?
Thanks, Adrian. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the fellow panelists, because they have come out today not only to support the report, but are also engaged with us on a long-term basis as members of the community of Champions for Nature. So they are taking it upon themselves, starting from now, to take the results of this report into clear action agendas. To take the topic of biodiversity and nature loss to the boardroom discussions and make it more relevant to business CEOs, heads of state and government, and ministers of economy and finance, the World Economic Forum started this initiative of New Nature Economy Report series about a year ago. In January of this year, we released the first of this report series, which really looked at what are the risks which are material to businesses. Through the framework of risks, it identified that half of the world's GDP, $44 trillion, is moderately or highly dependent on nature loss. Moving from risks to opportunities, we are also looking out today in a very unprecedented environment, as countries and companies both are planning for a post-COVID recovery. This second report, Future of Nature and Business, identifies that a nature-positive pathway can indeed create $10 trillion of business value, as well as create 395 million jobs by 2030. Now, to bring this to reality, we need to be able to have systemic transitions across three socioeconomic systems.